Hi guys, today I have a super fun, easy tutorial. Okay, so this is what we're gonna be making. I'll just show you really quickly because it's pretty easy. So this is a sketch pad, actually. And all we're gonna use to, well, not all, but the main thing we're gonna use to make this is just this drawing pad that you can get from the Dollar Tree. And this one specifically because it comes with the chipboard on the back. And this is actually the chipboard we are going to use to create the cover of our sketchbook. So the Dollar Tree, at least from what I've seen, they have a couple of options. So they have the drawing pad, which is the heavyweight paper. It's 30 sheets, 9 by 12 inches. And then they also have a sketch pad, which is medium weight, but I mean, it's pretty thin. And I think it's 8.5 by 11. It's something like that. So you could use either because they both come in a pad like this that has a chipboard on the back. It's just kind of your preference. I like that this paper is just a little thicker, so it's a little more versatile than just the sketch pad paper. But anyway, so this is what I ended up making. And, you know, using one, full thing of this, all the paper, the way you end up cutting it, you get, instead of 30 sheets, you get 60 sheets of paper. And this measures 5 by 8, well, 5 1/4 by 5 1/8 by 8 1/8, but then the paper itself is 5 by 8. So it's pretty simple, right? Like, it's just got some wire. So I did use my cinch for this. Covered it with some pretty paper on the inside cover, the back cover, and then I did include just a front top loading pocket in these in case, they're doodling something else. They want to put something in their notes, I don't know. But yeah, I just thought this would be like a nice little extra inclusion to have. And then obviously it's just a bunch of drawing paper. So yeah, let me just get right started. It's super simple and easy, but I figured I would show you anyway because I thought it was fun, and I'm gonna make a bunch of these. I've decided I've become obsessed. I love making the mini notebooks because I love just like decorating the cover of things. And it's nice to have a bigger cover. So it's a good thing to use like your bigger cut aparts, and it uses a good amount of paper, and it's just a fun way to use up this pretty paper that we have so much of. So if you want to know how I did it, just keep watching. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just, sorry, my chair's a little squeaky. We're just going to deconstruct this. So, the top is just kind of like just taped together. So I kind of just try to rip that apart. And you don't need every last scrap of paper, so it's okay if it's not like a perfect clean edge, okay? Totally fine. And then you'll want your paper to be free as well. Oops. The paper, we can put aside for now. But let's cut our chipboard. So this, whole sheet that you're left with ends up, from this one anyway, ends up measuring 9 by 11. So I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of chipboard out of this that measure 5 1/8 by 8 1/8. Because I just feel like that's a good size for one of these thingamabobs. So I'm gonna cut it down to 8 1/8 first. Okay. Then 5 1/8. And 5 1/8. Okay, so you have your 2 sheets. Okay, and then next we are going to do a very similar process just with all of the paper. We are going to cut down the paper to 5 by 8, just a solid 5 by 8. So I grab like 5 sheets at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I first cut it down to 8. And then I cut by 5. So then, instead of having 5 sheets, you have 10 sheets of 5 by 8 paper. And you are just gonna do that for the entire paper pad. Okay, now you have all of your paper cut down to the same size. So now, I mean, you should end up with 60 sheets. That's about how thick it is. And this paper is nice. It's not a true white. It's more of like a ivory color, which I don't know. I think it's nice. Okay, so you can set aside the paper for now. We're not gonna need that for a little bit. And now we are just gonna cover our chipboard. I'm just gonna use white. Obviously, you wanna use whatever's gonna go with the paper that you choose to decorate, but since I used that more like, I think it was Sketchpad that I used by Be Valiant, I'm gonna use that for my second one as well. So I'm just gonna do white again because it is pretty simple. So we are just going to cover our chipboard really quick, and then, you know, we get to decorate it, and then everything comes together pretty quickly with everything else. So yes, let me just glue this down. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to get a better setup because I hate that, you know, when I'm bumping the table, my whole phone shakes. But for now, it's what I have. And the nice thing about this is you could customize this to a lot of different sizes because the pages and the chipboard are pretty large. So you don't have to do 5 by 8. You could even do, gosh, let's see, you could do 4 by 5, and you could get 2 sketch pads out of one thing, just by changing the measurements a little bit. I think I did that math right. I might not have actually. Wait, no, not 4 by 5. Wait, maybe. I can't remember right now, guys, but you could. If you wanted to do like a smaller mini one, you could do that. Or you could just change it to a smaller size and just do one. Or you could technically do a bigger one because you could do a little bit bigger. You could do 5.5 by 9, and you know, if you really wanted to, and still get the same kind of situation. So anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, but I mean, this is nothing groundbreaking right here. We're just covering the chipboard, so we'll miter our corners. Do that to all sides. I just like to kind of pre-bend my paper on all sides before I start to put glue down. Okay, and then we are just gonna glue down the edges. So beautiful. I just think these are really fun to make because it's just another way I can use my cinch, which I always love. And I just think these would be good gifts. Like if you have someone who likes to draw or doodle, I think this would be a good gift. So I'm hoping that, you know, these do well at my craft, like my craft fair. I think it's a good gift idea. And I think, you know, sketch pads can be expensive. Obviously, if you're getting it from the Dollar Tree, it's not. But making it a little bit elevated like this just like makes it a more personalized gift. Okay. And then, you know, burnish that down. And I tuck in my corners, and then I'm just gonna do the same process to the remaining edges. Okay, so for these top ones, it's the same thing. You've just, you know, make sure to remember to tuck in your corner so that you don't have a really sharp part poking out. But yes, it's pretty simple. And then you can leave this exposed because we're going to cover that with pattern paper. Okay, and then I'm just going to do my last side and we'll go over the next step. Okay guys, so now we have our cover chipboard, we've got our paper, and now is the fun part. You get to pick out what pattern paper you want. So just keep in mind, you know, you want a paper to cover the front and the back, the inside cover and the back cover. And then if you want to include this pocket, then you'd want another sheet of paper for this pocket. So yes, the paper on the covers, on the front and inside covers, is going to measure just 5 by 8, okay? And then the pocket, if you're doing the pocket, is going to measure 10 by 8. And then, you know, I'll show you what we do for that, but that is the measurements of the paper that you would need, okay? So I cut out all my paper. These are going to be my cover, my inside cover, and then this is what I'm going to use for my pocket. So I'll show you what we do with this. It's really very simple. So you cut this to 10, and you are just going to score at 5, which is, you know, just right down the middle. And then I like there to be a little notch so that they know it's a pocket. So then I'm going to use my envelope punch, and then we will just go ahead and fold that, making sure she lines up. Burnish that down, and then we'll glue just the bottom because we are going to be using our cinch, so we don't need to glue the sides. Okay, perfect. Our pocket, voila. So you can just set that aside for now, and then we'll go ahead and glue our patterned paper onto our cover. And you can just do patterned paper. I am going to decorate mine with a cut apart, but I think I will do that at the end. So maybe not, actually. So I'll glue these down and then I'll decide what cut apart I want to do. But honestly, these would be really pretty if you just chuck some beautiful patterned paper on it. Sometimes that's all you need. Just burnish that is. Okay. And then on the inside, we're gonna do our patterned paper. And then just burnish that down. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing to the back sheet of chipboard. I'm just going to cover that front and back, and then I will, you know, add my whatever embellishments I want to the front, and then I will, you know, show you how we do the binding part. Okay, guys, now is when you wire bind it. So here is what it's looking like, and you just want to have it assembled like, you know, this pocket, then all your paper. So then you're going to turn it upside down and take the cover like that and just kind of like, or the back cover, sorry, you're just gonna flip that around like that. So this is the order we're gonna bind it, all with our cinch. And obviously you want to pick out your cinch wire. I'm just using the 5/8 size because I have a bunch of it and fun colors and stuff, so just, you know, pick whatever you have. I'm just gonna take my wire. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and for this I am using all 12 punches. So, you know, you just want to measure your wire to have 12 holes, and then I punch about 3 at a time. Or sorry, 5 at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, you know, this you want to kind of like pre-measure. So this thing is adjustable, and then I kind of measure where the center of my paper is. I line it up with the center line, which you can't see. I line it up with the center line right here, and then I adjust this so that this rest, you know, hold my paper at, you know, where the middle of the paper hits the center of the punch. Hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of hard to fully explain. So, I mean, this is gonna be pretty just repetitive, but you just punch it, you put it in there, and then you grab more paper, and you do that over and over again until you get to the covers, and then we'll meet back up, okay? Okay, so I did all the paper, and then also this divider, you know, I punched that too because that's just the same size. So for this, your cover is a little bit bigger, so you just want to like measure that in your little thing and adjust your rest. But anyway, so then I put my cover in, and you want to make sure you're doing the punch on the right side. So, you know, always have your cover up so that you can see. And then this one, you usually gotta put your back into a little bit. Okay, perfect. So you put the cover on, which I know this sounds backwards, but that's how you do it. Then you take your back cover, and if you have directional paper, this matters a little bit more, but let's see, what direction is this going? Okay, so we want this to be the top. So, you know, just make sure you're putting in the correct side to be punched. Okay. Then you put that on top, okay? Then you take your little book. As I'm looking at this, this wire might not be big enough. I'm a little worried. And then we're going to bind it together. So you just put your setting, you know, to what size wire you're using. 5/8 might be a little small for this, but we're just gonna see how it works. If it's, you know, not working, I'll just take some of the pages out. Anyway, so we're just gonna push that down. okay? And then you flip your cover over like so. So let's see how this turns, because if it's like not turning very well, we might need to use a bigger size. I actually feel like that is fine. Turns pretty smoothly. I just, you know, wanted to make sure that the wire wasn't too small, that it was gonna like cause it to be dumb or something. But actually, I think that's perfectly fine. It's like right on the cusp. So I would say for this project, definitely do 5/8. The only reason I'm saying that is because the first one I did, I actually used the sketch pad. And so you can see the difference in how thick this is from the sketch pad to the drawing pad. So if you want something thinner, you can definitely do this with the sketch pad. Also note, the sketch pad paper is like more of a white. And then the drawing pad paper is definitely more of a ivory type of color. So anyway, there is quite a big difference between that. So I was a little worried that the 5/8 size wasn't gonna work, but it still does. So that's adorable. And I just think using the thicker paper is nice. Like, it's just nice. And it turns great. I don't think there's any problem. So that works, but you can definitely use a bigger wire if you would like to. If you like the look of a bigger wire, that's fine. Anyway, so that is the completed project. So you have this adorable little 5/8 size sketchbook that has 60 pages for someone to use, okay? And how adorable are these? I love them. I think they're so cute. I bought a bunch of the sketch pads from Dollar Tree so that I can make a bunch. You can do just pattern paper, you can do cut aparts, you can make these in any theme that you want, and honestly, I think they're just gonna turn out so adorable. All right, guys, that was it. Super easy project with items you can find from the Dollar Tree. I kind of showed you an example of what the finished product would look like with if you use a sketch pad or if you use the drawing pad. So that is pretty much it. The possibilities are endless as far as like how you can decorate them and everything like that. I'm even thinking about maybe adding like a little charm or something just to make them extra cutesy, but maybe not. I mean, they're already pretty adorable. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I do a lot of project shares and tutorials of things when I think of them anyway. So much stuff has already been done. It's not like this is like a revolutionary idea, but I hadn't seen anyone do this, and I thought it was like just so nice, because if you don't have a bunch of chipboard lying around, but maybe you just have a cinch machine, you can go to the Dollar Tree and get all the other supplies you need. And if you don't have the cinch machine, there are other options like on Amazon, cheaper alternatives that you can get. And Michael's, the Recollections brand, they sell kind of like a dupe of this as well. And they also sell this size of the binding wire in a bunch of different fun colors. So anyway, I will link some different options down below if you do not have a cinch and you're interested in getting some sort of like a wire binding machine. And yeah, that was everything. So I'm gonna go now because I'm just rambling. Oh yeah, and then I forgot to say something else just as like an extra little tidbit. Once you're done with the 12x12 sheet, you're left with these scraps that are 4 inches in height. And these are the perfect kind of scraps to then go and make 3x4 size mini notebooks. So I'm just saying, if you're watching this, it's probably because you have a cinch or you're considering getting a cinch. And that is another fun, super like great way to use up these random sized scraps. So yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm saving my scraps from this, and I'm gonna make a couple 3x4 size mini notebooks.